Now, what I want to talk to you guys about today is the idea of this concept of intermediate purgatory. I've been hearing a lot about this lately. Intermediate purgatory. It sounds so dramatic. Sounds like this Greek epic poem phenomenon. Intermediate purgatory. Oh my God, what's that? Well, the thing is, intermediate purgatory is just some label that's been come up with. What it really means is that you've reached a plateau in your game, and you've reached a very common plateau, all right? When you start out, it's really easy to improve. Actually, that's not even true. It's really hard to improve. It's always really hard to improve. But it's really easy to see improvement because you start out and you suck. When you're terrible, any little improvement looks like a big deal. So whatever little progress you make, it always looks amazing. You always feel this great, oh my God, what am I learning? This is amazing. You feel this huge improvement in your results, improvement in your life. Then you get to a certain point where you're starting to get some level of success. And now you've kind of picked the low-hanging fruit, right? The easy stuff to get, the easy lessons, you've learned those. You've kind of embraced those, made them a part of yourself. You're starting to get some kind of results. And now it's hard for two reasons. Number one, because the lessons aren't the easiest lessons. They're lessons that you actually have to work for now. They're the lessons that didn't come naturally. But secondly, you've had some level of success. And once you've had some level of success, you want to repeat that success. You don't want to go backwards. That's almost one of the worst feelings in the world, when you've been doing really, really well and then you have to back off and you have to do worse again, right? And it's not even your fault. You know, certain days you're going to be more on than others. Certain days you're going to hit a sweet spot. You're not going to know why. It'll be an accident and you want to figure that out. You just happened upon it, right? And your brain's learning, you're figuring it out, but you can't repeat it. Or it may be certain days you just run into it like a bunch of girls that are just down. And then another day you run into a bunch of girls that have boyfriends or married, whatever. It is what it is, right? You cannot control it. So don't try. But you're at this weird, frustrating plateau. And actually, this is where most guys give up. The other thing that's happening at this plateau, which is interesting, is there's no longer that level of pain. All right, the reason most of us get into this, the reason most of us work hard is because there's some level of pain in our lives. If there's no reason, if there's no pain, nothing forcing us, you're not gonna work hard. Now you're at a point where you've gotten to intermediate, you're better than you've ever been. You're getting more success than you've ever gotten, even if it's just sporadic, even if it's just, one girl a month or a couple girls a year, at least you have girls in your life. You're not completely lonely, you're not hopeless, you're not desperate, so you don't have that same drive and motivation and pain spurring you onwards, all right? So it's a weird combination of, number one, progress seems to be really tough now, and number two, there's no pain, so there's no motivation, and that's where most people give up. And this is what separates the men from the boys, right? This intermediate purgatory phase. And it's not a big deal, it's just a plateau. If you continue on, you'll get to greater and greater and higher plateaus, but they probably won't seem like quite as big of a deal because you will have pushed through this first big plateau, all right? That's why this is so overhyped, and so there's so much drama and melodrama about it. It's the first really, really big plateau, and it's the first time that it's really, really easy to stop, and you're motivated to just relax, get that mediocre girlfriend, turn off, and go back into chode mode. So that's why intermediate purgatory is so insidious. It's because it gets on your your inner nature, all your desire to feel comfortable. It just says, it's okay, just relax, just be comfortable. It's okay, you're good enough. It's all right, it's not a big deal. The girls will come. Focus on other areas of your life, etc. It's just this very it's just the little devil on your shoulder telling you to relax, basically, all right? So that's where you're at. Now, how do we deal with it? How do you deal with intermediate purgatory? So the first thing is recognize it. Recognize it for what it is. It's not some big melodramatic hurdle. It's not some big stage in the game or some huge thing. It's a plateau, right? You've gotten to a certain level. You need to push through it. You have to just recognize that it's gonna get harder. Your progress isn't gonna be quite as fast, and that's okay. I've said this in other videos, be glad when it's hard. Be glad when it's difficult, because that's the part that other people won't push through. The shit that everybody's gonna do, the stuff that everybody's gonna push through, it's worthless. It's not gonna set you apart because everybody's doing it. But when it's hard, when it gets tough, when it's nitty gritty, that's when you're really developing that value. So be glad of that. But also recognize and be patient. Understand that it's not gonna come as fast as it did before. Right? You're gonna have to take your time with the progress and realize you have a long timeline. You have years to get good at this. It doesn't have to happen overnight. It doesn't have to happen in a year. It just has to happen eventually. Eventually, so take your time. Don't judge yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. Just make that little progress every single day. That's it. Next thing, in order to get through it, what got you here won't get you there, okay? That's a phrase I heard in a lot of business lectures and stuff like that, but it's very applicable to this. What got you here will not necessarily get you there. What got you to intermediate will not necessarily get you to advanced. What got you to advanced will not necessarily get you to expert. Sometimes you have to unlearn things. A lot of times there are sort of like convenient shortcuts that we can use to get a particular result, but that'll get us a mediocre result and it'll hold us back from really getting the great result that we'd like to get. Okay, example of this. Say that you start out and at first you can't even talk to people. You can't even go up and talk to a girl. Then you learn to be entertaining. You learn to be engaging. You learn to do your little dancing monkey routine. You learn to be fun and happy and completely non-threatening. And of course people are gonna accept you. You're fun, happy, and non-threatening. Of course people are gonna accept you, but people are never gonna commit to you. People are never going to chase you. People are never gonna seek your validation. They're just gonna take the show, enjoy the show, and they'll be like, thank you for the show, right? And they will just take value. So it'll get you to a point. It'll get you to a point where you can have these nice, pleasant interactions, but it will never get you to advanced. In order to get to advanced, you have to step back. You have to be a man. You have to be centered in your reality. You have to dominate. You have to lead. You have to take charge of the situation, and you have to do the dance of physical escalation. Do all those things, and you're there. But little dancing monkey boy is afraid to offend, and he's never going to get there. Okay? So what you have to do, think of it like you're doing a maze. If you're doing a maze and say the maze starts, you enter at like the bottom left corner, you end at the top right corner, you get all the way up to that top right, and then you hit a dead end. You hit a dead end, okay? No matter how hard you bang your head into that dead end, no matter how hard you push and prod, that wall is not going anywhere. That wall is stronger than you are, okay? So what do? You have to backtrack. You have to go further away from your goal in order to eventually get to your goal. So what got you here will not necessarily get you there. You may have to unlearn. You may be stuff that actually you think is working for you that you have to unlearn. You have to not get attached to it and not get attached to the result. Be okay with getting worse. Be okay with getting worse as long as you're getting worse in a new way. That's the whole thing. It's not about better, it's not about worse, it's about new experience and new learning, okay? Just give your brain that opportunity. Your brain is very smart. We are trained over millennia to condition ourselves to feedback. The whole thing though is you have to give your brain new feedback. Okay, if it's positive, it's negative, it doesn't matter. You have to give it new feedback. If you keep doing the same damn thing, you're never going to learn. So be willing to fuck it up. Be willing to do it badly. Be willing to try new things. Who knows, maybe some new thing you try will fail miserably, but some little tiny kernel of it will make you see a phenomenon that you weren't aware of, and maybe that will lead you where you need to be. So try something new. Don't let yourself have the same stagnant set over and over again. Don't let it happen. That's the only failure. There are two failures actually. The biggest failure is quitting, right? Getting frustrated by this plateau, being frustrated by intermediate purgatory, and quitting. Right, that's the big failure. The second failure is to just keep going through the motions. Keep going through the motions, okay? Don't do that either. Make sure that you're doing something a little different, something that pushes yourself, something that makes you uncomfortable, something that at least gives you a new experience on a continual basis. Again, remember, what got you here will not get you there, necessarily. Sometimes it will, but when what got you here will get you there, you'll probably already be there because you will have already done it. So in general, if you're getting to a hurdle, if you're getting to somewhere you can't get, realize that you may need to actually change your methodology. The same thing that got you intermediate may not get you advanced. So recognize that and be willing to step back. A third thing, take a long timeline. Take a really long timeline, okay? Everybody who I've ever met in game in this area, basically you have longer than you think. You don't have to get good tomorrow. You don't have to get good next week. You don't have to get good next year. You just have to get there eventually. So just make progress. And progress does not mean that your results are getting better all the time. It means you're learning new things. You have new ideas. There's something going on. There's some new understanding, all right? In order for me to have stayed relevant for the last 12 years, when we've gone from structured, canned, formulaic game to natural, improvised, like be in your own reality and be present in the moment game. In order to get from A to B, I had to change it up massively. I had to many times unlearn what I was doing, especially oftentimes it would come when I was doing really well. I'm on this massive hot streak, everything's going well. I see some new bit of feedback, some new bit of information, and I have to say, you know what? I'm gonna suck again. It's okay, I'm gonna take a breath, step back, be frustrated, realize that I suck for the moment, but I'm gonna learn this properly. I'm gonna learn the real technique. I'm not gonna learn some gimmick, some little band-aid over a bullet hole. I'm gonna learn the real technique that's gonna get me to advance because I see something, because I see new information, and it's worth it, okay? So that's intermediate purgatory. First of all, recognize it for what it is. It's not a big deal. It's not some like huge obstacle to be overcome. It's not some gargantuan like mythological beast to slay. It's just a plateau. It's just the fact that you've gotten to a certain level of good, you've picked the low-hanging fruit, and now you're gonna have to actually learn to climb the tree. The nice thing though is once you learn to climb the tree, once you get over that first little plateau, you've learned it. And then each and every plateau after that, it'll be the same procedure. Now it'll be different techniques, different skills, but it's the same procedure. Take the long timeline, recognize where you're at, be patient with yourself, and try new things. Just keep experimenting and stay positive. That's the other thing. Focus on the positive. Take every little bit of positive you can get and latch onto it. Enjoy it. Like take that into your soul. Forget the negatives. I don't remember rejections. I remember like that I've had good nights or bad nights, kind of. I remember things that are funnier that I've learned, but I cannot even remember specific times I've been rejected. I have that weird selective memory, and you should have that too, right? Focus on the positives, remember them, envision them, visualize them, because what you visualize, what you play over and over in your mind is what you get. But the negatives, the failures, forget them, learn from them, and then just forget them, all right? You should be like delusional, absolutely delusionally positive without being stupid. Delusionally positive without being stupid. That's what you're going for. So anyway, lessons again. Take the long timeline, recognize that it's natural, and then also realize what got you here won't get you there, all right? You need to try something new, you need to keep experimenting. Okay, that's it. I think I've beat this topic pretty much into the ground. So I'm gonna fly home for the holidays, and I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.